It's the biggest sporting event we've had in months, the NFL Draft. And today we take a look at our top 5 quarterbacks looking to extend their career at the next level. Yeah. Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, bringing you some of the best college football news, predictions, and analysis. And today, taking a look at the top 5 quarterbacks going into this 2020 NFL Draft. And as we all know, the quarterback position is in my opinion, one of the more difficult positions to scout if you're a general manager or a head coach in the NFL. Because you are looking for a guy to either immediately become the leader of your franchise or a guy that one day you hope will become the leader of your franchise. And there is so much that goes into the quarterback than just what you see on the field. There is so much more than the passes and the throws they can make. That's a huge part of it. The physical part of it, absolutely. But you also have to look at it from a mental standpoint. How high is their football IQ? How good are they at reading defenses? How good is their decision making? How good is their leadership? Can they win over a locker room? Those are qualities and traits that you have to look for in quarterbacks, especially at the next level. And we have ranked our top 5 here based on all of those qualities combined. So we're going to take a look at our number 1 quarterback right now, who is more than likely going to be the number 1 overall pick to the Cincinnati Bengals, Joe Burrow from LSU. Sticking with the Tiger theme here, going from the LSU Tigers to the Bengals, big-time Tigers. Might as well just name him the Tiger King, because Burrow may have just had one of the best college football seasons in history. That might have been the single best season by any player in college football history, as Joe Burrow not only won the Heisman Trophy, not only led LSU to a national championship, but completed 76.3% of his passes for over 5,600 yards and a national record 65 touchdowns to just 6 interceptions. He was the best player in college football last year. He was the best quarterback in college football last year. And right now, he's the best quarterback in this draft class based on us here at the Gridiron Expert. But one thing I will say is that the gap between Joe Burrow and really Tua Tagovailoa, so our top 3 here, the separation between each of these quarterbacks is not that great. It's not Joe Burrow above all else. It's not Herbert above all else. The gap between these 3 is fairly slim, and then you have Jordan Love and Jake Fromm, who we will touch on here in a little bit. But if you've watched Joe Burrow, whether you've watched his film in detail like we have for all of these quarterbacks, or whether you just watched him during his games at LSU, the one thing you do know is that Burrow has an elite ability to hit his receivers, first off in stride, and more specifically on the short crossing routes or deep posts. Burrow does not have necessarily the best deep ball. The majority of his touchdowns came either in the red zone, end zone phase, crossing routes over the middle, or just shorter passes that his receivers kind of took to the house. Yards after the catch, a big reason and a big contributor to Joe Burrow's amazing stats and his amazing season. But the one thing that I think Joe Burrow has maybe over Justin Herbert here, who we do have at number 2, is his mentality, his mental toughness, and his football smarts. He's an extremely, extremely smart quarterback. And I guarantee you that last year, about this time, no one had Joe Burrow as a Heisman winner. No one had him as a potential number 1 draft pick. But we saw that in his second year at LSU, working under Joe Brady, just how smart of a quarterback he really was. His ability to pick apart defenses, his ability to make smart decisions, all of that contributing to how well LSU did this year. I've got Burrow as number 1. He's going to go number 1 overall, but how long will he last in the NFL, especially if he is thrust immediately into a starting role with the Cincinnati Bengals. Right below him, we have Justin Herbert, and I'm sure this one might surprise some people. Herbert's receiving a lot of hate. A lot of people don't think Justin Herbert is ready for the next level. But let me tell you why I think he is. First off, he's the most experienced quarterback on this list. When it comes to experience, Herbert's got the edge over everybody. He's extremely accurate, completing over 64% of his passes. In his Oregon career, He's thrown for over 10,000 yards, 95 touchdowns, and just 23 interceptions. Now, a lot of people will say this, that the system that he worked in at Oregon wasn't suitable for him, that his stats could have been better. Maybe his draft stock would be better had he been in a system like Alabama's or LSU's. Because Oregon, those stats are not bad at all. But he never took a snap under center. They didn't really have the most high-octane offense like we used to see under Chip Kelly or even Mark Helfrich. So a lot of people are criticizing Justin Herbert for that. He also didn't have the wide receivers like LSU or Alabama did. So a lot of people are throwing that in there as well. But the one thing that Justin Herbert, I think, has the edge over Joe Burrow in is the deep ball. Justin Herbert might have the best deep ball out of all of these quarterbacks here, maybe out of all the quarterbacks in this NFL draft. Sure, he didn't take many snaps under center. Sure, he missed a lot of throws. His ability to hit on the shorter passes, screen passes, slants over the middle, not nearly as good as Joe Burrow's or Tua Tagovailoa's. So Herbert does have to work on that, does have to work on his accuracy on the short range a little bit. But his deep ball is probably the best out there, and still 64% of his passes, not bad at all. He was a Senior Bowl MVP. That improved his draft stock. His pro day was unbelievable, one of the best out of all these quarterbacks. And I'm going to go out on a limb here and say this. I think Justin Herbert is the most pro-ready quarterback in this NFL draft. That's a hot take for many. Many will disagree with it. But let me tell you something. Out of every quarterback up here, after every quarterback up here and every quarterback not listed here, every single one of them has their flaws. Every single one of them has their flaws. Every college quarterback is. And if you thrust Justin Herbert or Joe Burrow into a starting role immediately, they might not do extremely well. Give these guys some time. But especially with Justin Herbert, you get him into a good offensive system, let him sit back for maybe a year or two, learn the ropes, improve in an NFL system. This is a guy that I think has the potential to have the longest NFL career out of every single quarterback on this list. I love this quarterback. He's number 2 on our list, nearly put him up at number 1. But if he just works a little bit on that short range accuracy, not using all that arm strength, especially on short mid-range passes, this guy's got a long, illustrious career coming his way. Right below him, we've got Tua Tagovailoa from Alabama. And the reason that he's not higher than Herbert, the reason that he's not higher than Joe Burrow, is for 2 reasons. First off, just the season that Joe Burrow had back in 2019, but also the fact that Tagovailoa is a little injured. He says he's fine now. Doctors say he's doing all right, but he did have surgery on both of his ankles and then on his hip, which is what ended his season back in 2019 and ultimately ended Alabama's chance at a college football playoff berth. But the one thing Tua Tagovailoa has when he's healthy is insane accuracy and the ability to put the ball in places that only the receiver can go get it. Go back and just watch his film from 2017 when he was backing up Jalen Hurts up until that national championship game, through all of 2018, and then all of 2019 until he got hurt. His accuracy is unbelievable, and he's a lefty. Throw that in there. You don't see many lefty quarterbacks anymore. Tagovailoa is one of them, and he's one of the best. 69% completion percentage in 2018, 71.4% completion percentage in 2019 before he got hurt. Keep in mind, he only played in 1 full season. Because in 2017, he was not the starter. 2018, he played the entire year. 2019, played all year until he got hurt. But I will say that his accuracy and that ability to only get it to his receivers is what separates him from maybe Love and Fromm and keeps him close to Burrow and Herbert. And the other thing, too, for Tua is his mobility and pocket presence. You've seen so many times where the pocket collapses on Tua Tagovailoa and he's able to escape and extend plays. Not necessarily with his legs. He's not the type of guy that's really going to take off for 40 yards on the ground. But knowing just that pocket awareness, knowing that he needs to step up in the pocket, knowing that he needs to escape the pocket just to make sure he can get a good throw in, that's what separates Tagovailoa from the rest. That's a reason that more than likely he's going to be a top 10 pick, maybe to the Chargers, maybe to the Dolphins. But he's going to be a top 10, at least top 15 pick out of these quarterbacks, and that's a major reason why. The biggest thing for him and the biggest concern for general managers out there is his health. But he has been one of the best quarterbacks in the country for the past 2-3 years, and I think he has a very good NFL career coming his way as well. So we kind of touched on our top three here. Those are our top three. Burrow's going to go number one. We know that. Herbert, Tagovailoa could be interchangeable. And then you've got Jordan Love here. You've got Jordan Love, who might be one of the most polarizing quarterbacks in this NFL draft because he's a guy that could go as high as the top 10, but he's also a guy that could fall out of the first round. No one really knows what to think or what to expect from Jordan Love. One of the biggest things I'm concerned with him is, first off, his maturity. He got cited for some marijuana possession right before Utah State's bowl loss to Kent State this past postseason. And another thing that I worry about with him is his decision making. Yes, outside of football for sure, but also on the field, as he led the FBS in interceptions this past season with 17. It was an FBS high, 17 interceptions in 2019. And that's a major letdown considering that in 2018, he threw for 32 touchdowns and just 6 interceptions. A lot of that might contribute to Gary Anderson returning to Utah State. He had to deal with a new coach. He only had one returning starter on offense, so the offense wasn't gelling as much as it had in 2018. I get that. But the drop-off in production from 18 and 19 is a major concern. But those are the negatives. The positives from Jordan Love is that his arm strength is second to none. He's got a great arm, and similar to Tua, he can only put it in the area where his receiver can go up and get it. I can't really say the same for Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert from what I've seen. They're great quarterbacks, getting the job done, but Tua and Jordan Love are two of the best, I think, at doing that. Love also has a little more mobility than these three quarterbacks up here. He is probably the more likely of the three to take off and get a run for 40 yards. He's more likely to do that. So the question for me is, if I'm a general manager, from what I see on film, is that going to be enough? Is the great arm strength going to be enough? Is the bit of mobility going to be enough? Are the maturity and decision-making fears going to hinder his draft stock? A lot of people are comparing him to Jameis Winston, who was a top 2 pick many years ago with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but has been very turnover prone and maturity-wise isn't there. Is Jordan Love in for the same fate? And will a team take a risk on him, or will he fall out of the first round completely? Regardless, he's a solid quarterback. He might be one of those diamond in the rough guys that can make an immediate impact if someone just takes a chance. And then finally, rounding out our top 5, we've got Jake Fromm from Georgia. And I'll tell you this, guys. These are your top 4 quarterbacks. The rest, I hate to say it, are about mediocre. These are your top 4 that could start and get a lot of playing time this upcoming year. The rest, probably not so much. But when you look at Jake Fromm, he's not a first-round draft pick. He's not a second-round draft pick. He's a third day of the draft type of guy. But he is one of the smartest quarterbacks in this draft, and he is one of the more accurate quarterbacks in this draft. And we've been saying that since he took over the starting job at Georgia in 2017. He's completed over 60% of his passes all 3 years with the Bulldogs. He's extremely precise. His football IQ, second to none, unbelievable. But the one thing that kind of hurt his case was, first off, he's not the most athletic. We'll throw that out there. Second off, Georgia has never really been, under Jake Fromm, a pass-heavy team. When you've got guys like Sony Michel, Nick Chubb, DeAndre Swift, guys like that in your backfield, why would you be? When you've got one of the best offensive lines in college football and those type of running backs, you're probably not going to be that pass-heavy. I wouldn't be. So that kind of hurt Jake Fromm a little bit, yet he still put up solid stats and still got Georgia to a national championship appearance and still almost got them to the college football playoff last year. What Fromm's going to do, he's going to get drafted. I will tell you that. That's why he's up here on our top 5. He's on here on our top 5 not because maybe of his physical ability, but because of his mental ability. What he needs to do is he's going to get drafted. He needs to sit back and learn. If he gets thrust into action, so be it. But if he's lucky, he'll get drafted behind one of the better quarterbacks in the leagues right now. He will learn from them. He will learn the ropes. He's going to be a very, very solid backup QB. That when or if he gets thrust into a situation like that because the starter gets hurt or because someone wants to take a chance on him, he might be able to have his time to shine. Kind of reminds me of Nick Foles a little bit. Foles was never, ever a franchise quarterback. Jake Fromm isn't either. But Nick Foles did get the job done. When he got his chances, he got the job done. And I could see the same being in store for Jake Fromm. So those are our top 5 quarterbacks going into the 2020 NFL Draft. Round 1 begins on Thursday, but I've got one more guy for you. It's a sleeper pick. It's a guy that no one's talking about, a guy that won't get drafted until the 5th, maybe even 6th round, but could be that diamond in the rough player that when he's healthy, when he's given a chance, could surprise a lot of people. And that sleeper pick is James Morgan out of Florida International. This is a guy whose release is unbelievable. He gets the ball out of his hands extremely quickly, and he has an extremely strong arm, which, like Justin Herbert, is great for deep balls. It's bad for short range. James Morgan missed a lot of receivers on screens, on little slants across the middle, even in the red zone, because he's throwing the ball too hard. He's got to know to let up a little bit. He's got to know how powerful he really is. So the strong arm, the accuracy is great at times, but is one of his downfalls as well. He's hit a school record back in 2018 with 26 touchdowns. Had a decent year in 2019, but has been battling injuries, especially to his knee. When he's healthy, he is very good. He's not a first-time starter. He's not going to be a guy you want to thrust into action immediately. But you put this guy behind someone like Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, whoever it may be, one of the better quarterbacks in the league, and let him learn, put him in a solid offensive system. I'd even say Matt Rule and Joe Brady's system in Carolina. You get him there and let him learn under that system, he's a guy that could start in the NFL for many, many years when he gets his chance. No doubt in my mind. As long as he can stay healthy and as long as he knows to kind of take the edge off a little bit on his velocity and on his strength. Morgan's a guy you do not want to miss. And Morgan's a guy that someone's going to get very lucky with. A sleeper pick that you'll forget about. A sleeper pick that will probably be drafted during a commercial break in day 3 of the NFL Draft. But a guy that can make a major impact in the NFL here in a few years. So our top 5 quarterbacks and a sleeper coming your way. NFL Draft begins on Thursday. We're going to be touching on wide receivers here very soon, so do not miss that. One of the best wide receiver classes potentially in history. Got tons of coverage on that coming your way. But once again, as always, guys, thank you for watching us here at The Gridiron Expert. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And we will see you next time with more NFL Draft coverage right here on The Gridiron Expert.